Wrath of the Wolves by Ignium 807. Chapter 5. Yennefer meets them the second they walk through the portal. Eskel has Jaskier cradles in his arms, Lambert a step behind him. The others will join them soon enough. "Bring him to the sick room," Yennefer says, and they hasten to obey. Carrying Jaskier through the main hall makes Eskel want to retch. There's blood on him, and piss, and all sorts of other smells that have no business in his memories of their winters together, curled up in front of the fire with music in the air. Jaskier is supposed to be bright and loud in the ancient halls, not lying silent, still a stone. Eskel sets him down on the bed as gently as he can manage. The room is set up with everything Yennefer needs. Tinctures and salves, miles of bandages, and some jars of potions that he knows better than to ask about. The sorceress herself sweeps into the room a moment later, worry written into the lines of her beautiful face. Magic leaps to her fingertips as she leans over Jaskier. There are whip marks, burns, and bruises. So much pain written across fair skin that Eskel wants to scream. It took them days to get to him. Days! When he was enduring this! Imagining the death Kaer will suffer at Geralt's hands helps, but only so much. It doesn't make up for the whimper that pushes past Jaskier's teeth when Yennefer puts her hands on him. "Fuck," she says. "He can't be awake for this." Awake is a generous term for what Jaskier is, but Eskel understands. Healing, especially magical healing, can hurt as much as the wounds themselves. "Blue bottle, corked up," Yennefer directs. "Hand it over." Eskel finds the bottle by his elbow and pulls out the cork before pressing it to Yennefer's palm. She tips it into Jaskier's mouth. He grimaces a little as the liquid goes down, but he swallows it all and is out like a light seconds later, eyes shut and muscles completely slack against the bed. Scents of smoke and worry are heavy in the air, undercut by a fresh wave of rage as Geralt and Vesemir push through the door. Geralt's hands shake when his eyes fall on Jaskier, unmoving and unresponsive while Yennefer sets about cleaning his chest. In the low light of the room, Jaskier's body is still as death.
"Is he?"
"No," Lambert says firmly. "Yennefer knocked him out." The breath leaves Geralt like a gut punch, and he falls to his knees beside the bed, reaching out to feel for Jaskier's pulse. His eyes close when he finds it. It's weak, Eskel is sure, but there beneath his fingers all the same. "Kaer?" Eskel asks. Thunderheads swirl in Vesemir's eyes. "Dead. By poison, fire, and steel. Geralt made sure of it." Geralt the warrior, the butcher, the white wolf. Here, gently brushing sweat-soaked hair from Jaskier's forehead, he has never looked more like a man. Battle-calloused hands trail down Jaskier's skin in a benediction, and Eskel feels the last of his bloodlust leave him, exhaustion in its place as he drops to the floor by the bed. He reaches out to touch the top of Jaskier's foot, the only place he can reach with Yennefer bent over him, and the breath freezes in his throat. There are cuts on the bottoms of his feet, dirty and half-healed, like he was made to stand on them again and again, never allowing the gashes to close. Eskel lets out a low groan. He wants to kill them all again, to relight the fires and watch the men who did this burn. There at least he would be useful. But there is no one to slaughter, not anymore, and there is very little he can do to help with the healing. Yennefer changes focus from the cuts on Jaskier's chest to the ones scattered down his legs, but her elbow bumps against Eskel when she tries to move. "That's it," she says. "This room is too fucking small for 6 people, and I need focus. All of you except Vesemir out." "Why Vesemir?" Lambert demands. "Because he has a level head and doesn't ask stupid questions. Now go." When they seem reluctant to leave, she adds in a soft voice, "There's nothing you can do for him now besides let me work. Go. I promise to summon you as soon as I'm done."
"All right," Eskel says. "We'll go."
His aching muscles complain as he stands. He hauls Geralt to his feet as well and moves them both outside. Geralt is dead weight in his arms, slumped against Eskel as he stares into the room. Yennefer shuts the door with a bang. Lambert comes up beside them and slings Geralt's arm over his shoulder, taking some of his weight. "Let's go down to the hot spring." That seems to startle Geralt into awareness. His head jerks away from the door and shock glows in his eyes, mingling there with the hurt and worry that swirls like a storm through all 3 of them.
"You want a fucking bath right now. Jaskier is...
The fight bleeds out of him and Geralt stumbles.
I can't leave him here.
You can, Eskel says. His instincts scream at him not to walk away, not to leave Jaskier behind, but they'll only be in Yennefer's way if they stay.
We're covered in blood, Lambert points out. You know how much he hates that. Do you want it to wake up to the three of us looking like we just climbed out of a silken Moor's stomach?
Geralt stares at the door like it's personally responsible for keeping Jaskier away from him. His hands clench into a fist and relax again, so many emotions playing behind his eyes that Eskel can't keep up with them all. Finally, his shoulders slump and he turns away.
You're right,
he grunts. They're all limping a little as they head to the spring, injuries, magic use, and plain old exhaustion catching up to them after hours of fighting. Eskel sways on his feet, so tired he could fall asleep standing, but he doesn't care. Jaskier is safe. He's safe and he's whole, and no one will lay a finger on him ever again. Eskel will make sure of it. Freshly washed and smelling of the lavender oil that Jaskier loves, three witchers take up a vigil outside the sick room door. Geralt fails miserably at meditating, focusing instead on the voices he can hear through the walls. Yennefer asks for gauze and potions, always with a snap in her voice, commanding and expecting to be obeyed. Not many people are willing to boss around Vesemir, but she manages quite well. Yennefer emerges hours later, nearly tripping over Lambert's foot when she slams open the door. Vesemir hovers over her shoulder, one hand out as if preparing to catch her. Dark circles hang heavy under her eyes. Her fingers shake from exhaustion as she points into the room, blood under her fingernails. "Live," she says. Relief crashes over Geralt, a wave of it so strong that it overcomes his usual need for stoicism and physical distance. He sweeps Yennefer into a hug, holding her long enough to mutter,
"Thank you,"
in her ear before releasing her. She arches one perfectly lined eyebrow and gives him a smile as she waves him in. "Watch the idiot for me, won't you? I'm going to sleep." Geralt sits gently on the edge of the bed, bracing himself on the ground so he doesn't disturb Jaskier. The blood and bruises are gone, replaced by a light flush over his cheekbones. He's still too thin, but the rest of him looks gloriously healthy, wounds wiped away like the entire horrific ordeal never happened. Beautiful. Jaskier is beautiful like this, strong and alive beneath the moonlight, safe in Geralt's arms. Lambert and Eskel follow him in, footsteps silent on the old wood floors. The bed is barely large enough for Jaskier, so there's no way for them all to get as close as they want to be, but they try anyway. Lambert sits on one corner of the pillow and runs his hands through Jaskier's hair, while Eskel curls up by his feet, two fingers pressed against the blood vessel, taking a pulse as best he can. Vesemir stands in the corner, uncertain. He's as blood-soaked as they were a few hours ago, and even more tired. Geralt catches his eye, and he clears his throat, coming forward slowly, as though afraid they'll startle. He lifts the pendant over his head and drapes it around Jaskier's neck, fingers ghosting over the blush on one cheek before he pulls away.
"Speak to him,"
Vesemir says. Geralt raises a hand to his own pendant, something bright taking form in his chest.
"Do you think he can hear us?"
"It's powerful magic, a direct mental connection. Even if he can't understand the words, emotions and memories will go through."
Vesemir's face is muted in the darkness, words on the tip of his tongue before he bites them back.
"Give him something to dream about. Something good."
He's gone before Geralt can thank him.
"Something good,"
Lambert echoes. His eyes close and his hands slow in Jaskier's hair. Geralt's pendant vibrates gently, a memory overtaking him. Lambert is in a field somewhere. Temeria, maybe, lit by the setting sun as he takes a rare break to simply be. No monsters, no fighting, just a colorful sky and a lungful of clean air. The memory fades as the sun sets and a new one overtakes it. It's Eskel this time, bathing in a cold stream and grinning like a fool as silver fish dart around his legs. Then the fish are gone and Geralt sees the delight and surprise on a young woman's face when the witcher who rescued her plays a little tune on his lute. Geralt pushes his own memory down the bond. He's at the brothel, but not for sex. He takes 3 women into a private room and has them teach him how to braid. They're suspicious at first, confused by a witcher of all people making such a request, but as the hours pass without a sign of violence from Geralt, they relax into it. A redhead with hair down to her waist lets him practice on her. simple braids and complex ones, some with ribbons and gemstones woven in. He leaves the next morning with Adley surf fingers and a new skill that he puts to use on Roach's mane. His horse looks fucking ridiculous like that, but the smile it pulls from Jaskier is blinding.
You didn't!
Eskel laughs.
I did.
A soft voice from the doorway asks, "Did what?" Geralt turns to his child, surprised with fond exasperation.
You should be asleep, Ciri.
I wanted to see if Jaskier was okay, and if you all came back in one piece. She steps more fully into the room, moonlight bright on her determined face. A bouquet of wildflowers is clenched in one fist, clearly picked from the gardens out back, and she shoves them unceremoniously into Geralt's chest as she leans over to look at Jaskier.
He's fine, cub.
We all too, Eskel says. Ciri eyes them all meaningfully as she pulls the flowers from Geralt's hand and starts tucking them into Jaskier's hair. Did you kill the bastard that took him? Geralt has long since stopped correcting her language. It would be hypocritical of him to tell her not to swear when he does it so often himself. Besides, curses always sound so much stronger when spoken in that delicate royal tone of hers. Delight dances in Lambert's eyes.
Of course we did.
She nods, hands now empty of flowers, and solemnity takes over her expression. He did it for me. Geralt's throat tightens up. If anyone deserves blame here, it's him. For leaving Jaskier for not thinking clearly about how many people know the White Wolf's bard. He doesn't want Ciri putting this on herself, not when it isn't her job to protect them.
Ciri.
I know it's not my fault. She meets his eyes, and there is steel in her, sharper than any sword. But he did it for me. He got hurt to protect me. A quiet sigh escapes her lips, and she sinks to the floor, curling towards Geralt, like she has since the day he found her seeking the protection that he has always offered. Can I stay here with you? Until he wakes up? Geralt pulls her close. It's easy to forget how much Jaskier means to Ciri. He's as much a father to her as the rest of them, a mentor in his own way, teaching her how to use words as effectively as Vesemir teaches her to wield a blade.
Yes, you could always stay with us.
Ciri tucks her head into his shoulder, and Geralt pushes the feeling of it through the pendant, trying to tell Jaskier that they're here. All of them, right here, waiting for him. Jaskier wakes to thoughts of the sun, golden rays and ocean air. Memories not quite his own dragging him from sleep. His eyes flutter open and he breathes in deep. No aching in his ribs, no throbbing pain from the cuts on his feet. His back still hurts, but it's nothing like before. He sits up and something soft falls onto his shoulder. A buttercup. Turning his head makes more flowers rain down on him, drifting from his hair to scatter across the bed. It must be a dream, he thinks. Quarter wood elf or not, flowers don't just appear in people's hair. But if it is a dream, it's a damn good one. Lambert's hand is on the pillow next to Jaskier, the rest of his body hanging off the bed in a way that cannot possibly be comfortable. Eskel is at his feet looking much the same. And Geralt. Oh, Geralt. He's lying against one edge of the bed, Ciri in his arms, both of them asleep. Jaskier fights the exhaustion in his eyes to watch for as long as he can, to soak them in like this. His wolves around him, and their lying cub between them. Jaskier takes the buttercup from his shoulder and tucks it behind Geralt's ear. A dream. Yes, a beautiful one. But his body is tired and his eyes are heavy, so he gives in and lets sleep claim him once more.